You walk into the bedroom with a clear mission. You needed something. You were sure of it 2 seconds ago. But now you are just standing there, in the middle of the room, completely blank, looking around like the room might just hand you the answer if you stare at it long enough. It does not. You turn back around, walk to where you started, and the second you cross back through that doorway, it hits you. Your phone charger. You knew it the whole time. Your brain just decided to delete it the moment you walked through a door, like a tiny invisible bouncer checking memories at the entrance and deciding yours was not on the list. And the strange part is, this happens to basically everyone, constantly, and almost nobody knows there is an actual name for it. It is called the doorway effect, and it is one of the strangest, most consistently reproducible quirks of human memory. For decades, people assumed forgetfulness like this was random. A bad memory day. Too much on your mind. Maybe you are just, as your aunt likes to remind you, getting older. But researchers eventually noticed something odd. The forgetting was not random at all. It was tied to one very specific physical action, walking through a doorway. The scientist most responsible for proving this is Gabriel Radvansky, a cognitive psychologist at the University of Notre Dame. In a series of experiments published starting in 2011, Radvansky and her team set out to test something deceptively simple. Does crossing a threshold actually disrupt memory, or does it just feel that way? Somewhere out there is a group of college students who spent their afternoons walking through virtual doorways for science, which is either the most relatable research job ever or a very strange way to spend a Tuesday. Here is how the experiment worked. Participants walked through a virtual environment on a computer, picking up a virtual object and carrying it. Sometimes they carried it across a room of a certain size. Other times they carried it the exact same distance, but that distance included walking through a doorway into a new room, same number of steps, same amount of time, same object. The only variable that changed was whether a doorway was involved. Then, researchers would test how well participants remembered details about the object they were carrying. The results were strikingly consistent. When participants stayed in the same room, their memory for the object stayed strong. The moment they walked through a doorway into a different room, recall dropped noticeably, even though nothing else about the task had changed. Radvansky ran this experiment repeatedly, with variations, and the effect held up again and again. Crossing a threshold was doing something to memory that simply walking the same distance did not do. Somewhere, a participant definitely blamed the researchers for rigging the test, not realizing they had just personally proven the entire point. To understand why, you have to understand a concept psychologists call event segmentation. Your brain does not experience your day as one continuous, undivided stream. Instead, it constantly chops your experience into discrete chunks, almost like chapters in a book, except nobody asked you what genre you wanted and the editing is brutal. Cooking breakfast is one chapter. The commute to work is another. A conversation with a coworker is its own chapter entirely. Your brain does this automatically, without you ever noticing. Because trying to hold every single moment of your day in equally vivid focus would be completely overwhelming, and also exhausting, and also probably illegal in several states if it were a person doing it to you on purpose. When your brain decides a new chapter has started, it does something specific. It creates what researchers call an event model, a kind of mental folder containing everything relevant to the situation you are currently in. The objects around you, the goal you are pursuing, the thoughts you were just having. As long as you remain inside that mental folder, those details stay easily accessible. But the moment your brain senses the chapter has ended, it starts closing that folder, sometimes a little too enthusiastically, like an overzealous librarian slamming a book shut before you finish the sentence and opening a new one for whatever comes next. And here is the critical part. Doorways are one of the strongest possible signals your brain uses to decide a chapter has ended. Think about it from your brain's perspective. You are in a kitchen. The lighting, the sounds, the visible objects, the entire physical context says kitchen. The instant you cross through a doorway into a hallway or a bedroom, every single one of those contextual cues changes simultaneously. New lighting, new layout, new visible objects. Your brain interprets that sudden total shift in surroundings as powerful evidence that whatever you were just doing has concluded and a new scene has begun. So it closes the mental folder. And if the thing you needed, the reason you walked in there in the first place, was filed inside that now closed folder rather than firmly transferred into your longer-term working memory, it can get left behind in the closing, like a sock left in the dryer that you will only remember exists when you desperately need socks. This is not a flaw in how your brain works. It is actually an efficient strategy for almost every situation. Most of the time, segmenting your day into discrete chapters is incredibly useful. It keeps your mental workspace clean. It prevents every irrelevant detail from a previous task cluttering your thinking while you focus on a new one. The doorway effect is just an unfortunate side effect of an otherwise smart system. A system that is normally working in your favor every single day without you ever noticing or thanking it, which, frankly, is a lot like most good infrastructure. There is something else researchers have found that makes this even more interesting. The effect is not limited to physical doorways. Radvansky and other researchers have found that simply imagining walking through a doorway in a virtual environment produces the same memory disruption as physically doing it. Your brain does not need the literal architecture. It just needs the conceptual signal that a scene has changed. Some researchers have even found weaker versions of the effect when people simply transition between different mental tasks, suggesting that doorways are just the most obvious physical version of something your brain is doing constantly, even when there is no door in sight. Your brain, it turns out, has been quietly reorganizing your thoughts behind your back this entire time, and it never once asked for your input. So the next time you walk into a room and your mind goes completely blank, you are not broken, and you are not unusually forgetful, despite what your aunt thinks. You just walked through one of the most efficient filing systems your brain owns, a system built to keep you focused on what matters in each new chapter of your day. It just occasionally takes something useful along with the clutter it was designed to clear out. And the easiest fix, according to the same research, is almost embarrassingly simple. Walk back to where you started. Most people who do that find the memory returns almost instantly, because they have physically re-entered the mental folder where that thought was filed all along. Your brain was never losing things. It was just organizing them into rooms you had not realized existed.